February 2, 2020, 12 a.m., Saturday night. It feels like I've been writing my entire life. Which is probably true. I mean, I remember sitting in my elementary classroom during recess writing Mary Sue type stories about pretty girls being whisked away by fairies or, mermaids or whatever. I don't have those stories anymore, unfortunately. Or maybe fortunately, I don't know if I wanted to read those again. Oh my god. The only physical copy of what I actually wrote back then from my childhood is just this folder of cheap lined paper where I had tried to chronicle my adventures during a family trip. This folder is buried inside the bottom drawer of my bedroom dresser, along with the 10 or so other notebooks I've managed to fill up in the many years after. I don't exactly recall the moment where I decided that my life was something I wanted to document. But the joy of writing, the ecstasy of seeing beautiful words on the page, had, I think, developed steadily over time. This joy in the act of journaling somehow gave way to the joy of writing fiction. And somewhere in my first years of high school, I started to try and take myself seriously as a writer. But when I started uni, I had less and less time to write and frankly, less and less desire to do so. I didn't want to write in my spare time when all I seemed to do was write for my assignments. This was the case for nearly 4 years. Then, Lindsay Ellis released her YouTube video in December, explaining how she got her book deal, which, I guess, reminded me that, oh shit, I used to want to do that too. What happened to that dream? Mind you, this was a dream I wanted so badly I basically lost sleep over it. But here I was, living my life without so much as even a glance at my millions of drafts in years. So I opened one of them, hoping that it'll somehow click again, and the magic could come flooding back, and I'll remember what it was about words materializing from my fingertips that helped me love the world desperately and wholly. What I was greeted with instead were pages and pages of amateur writing and half-baked plots and scenes hastily jotted down so the fleeting notion wouldn't slip away from me. Years ago, my head was so full of these characters and their lives, and today I am meeting these strangers again, as if for the first time, because the me who wrote these stories is not the me I am now. I don't have that invisible blueprint tattooed in my eyelids anymore. I no longer have that map that guided me where to go, and the lines in the sand have been washed away by the tides of time, of new memories, of new dreams. It's not so bad. It's definitely going to be a challenge to navigate these characters' lives with only a vague inclination of where they're meant to go. But I have new tools to utilize in our journey, and I know things now that I didn't back then. Lindsay's video was merely one in a long list of coincidences that reminded me of my writing origins. I saw Little Women quite recently, and Jo March is such a beautiful character. All those nights where she scribbles away reminded me of my own childhood. Though really, I'm starting to do the same thing these days as well, so that's looking up. And then before that, BTS had released Black Swan, which is a song about losing your hold on a passion you once had. While other fans on Twitter were lamenting how hard it was for their passion to slip away from their grasp, I had realized that my parting with writing as a passion happened in a healthy way, in a way that I wasn't so consumed with mourning its loss, because I had so many things that I could easily use to fill that hole. But Lindsay's video made me revisit what exactly it was about writing fiction that made me yearn so badly. Lindsay mentions how she got her start in writing fiction through writing Phantom of the Opera fanfic. The potential of fanfic has never quite enticed me in my years of fandom. I enjoyed reading it, definitely, and I'll always be indebted to the fanfic community of whatever fandom happens to catch my fancy. Yet, I never felt the need or the itch to write it myself. I never felt the need to step into someone else's characters. They are theirs, and I have my own characters to tell my own stories with. Perhaps it's because I'm usually satisfied with the stories that the source material has given me, that even though I seek it out, I never really see how I, myself, could contribute to this pool that everyone else has seemed to be filling up already. I doubted I had anything of worth to offer this already vibrant community, so, I just read. But Lindsay mentioning it, how it helped her get her start, got me wondering whether it would help me too. Maybe it's because I've read so much fan fiction that it's begun to affect the kind of stories I could write. I love the idea of two people getting together, of being in love and needing each other. I love the idea of this tender yearning that could only be fulfilled by someone who understands you in a way that no one else can. This is, of course, no way 100% definitely not related to my own deep loneliness and craving for human romantic intimacy. That's crazy. That's so wild. I don't even know where you would get. So anyway, I'm forcing myself to finish these 2 stories on top of researching for the next video. The first story is a short story that features original characters and a plot I recycled. Like I said, these people are strangers, and basically because I'm not emotionally ready to commit to fiction writing again, I'm finding it really difficult to get to know these people. That's why after years of rejecting it, I've, finally considered writing a fanfic. I thought, hell, this is the point of fanfic, isn't it? Finding familiar characters and making them your own. Since they already have their personality sorted out for them, you won't have to build them up from scratch. So the second short story, is a fan fiction whose plot I begrudgingly wrote down a couple of years ago, I think, because it sprung out, fully formed, whenever I listened to a song called This Must Be My Dream by the 1975. And the characters are from this fandom that I shall not name. I say, quote-unquote, begrudgingly write down because every time I listened to the song, the plot would resurface right before my eyes as if it wasn't letting go until I physically wrote it down. So, alright, I guess I'm doing this and, I can do this for myself. So where am I exactly at this stage? I am drowning in half-baked ideas and a guilt that won't quit. With only a short month left of my uni holiday, every day feels like I'm running out of time. And not just with the semester approaching. Every day it feels like the special something, the spark inside me, is slowly slipping away, and I have no idea how to catch it and bottle it up. I don't think it's necessarily my youth, but I think it's more like the light that shines through me that is unobstructed by hard realism. The older I get, the more weight I feel settle in my bones. I like to think that the half-baked ideas that I've accumulated over the years are, exactly that. Halfway done, and along the way, pieces will somehow fit together miraculously in a way that younger me would have never seen coming. But then, Lindsay in her video also introduced the concept of a trunk novel. A trunk novel, according to this blog I read, are novels and stories that you write for yourself for practice. And then you put them in a trunk and you never show anyone else. Which to me makes a lot of sense, I don't think you should be publishing everything that you write. But it's also really scary. All these years I've been writing stories that mean so much to me, but what if they're all meant to never see the light of day? Sometimes I think my skills must be so bad that I'll spend the rest of my life practicing. Just when I think I'm ready, I end up dying the next day. Maybe I am not ready yet. Every time I see something beautifully written, I get so green with jealousy that I wasn't the one who wrote that first. And so, I doubt a person like that should even be writing if that's the only thing they, think of when they encounter a beautiful story or a beautiful line. One day, I will go back to that same wonder I had as a child where I desperately wanted to live for all the great books I haven't read yet. But right now, I'm not at that place yet. I don't know if I can write my way there, but there are no other options. So that's the plan. For now, I guess. The only comfort I have, it seems, is that whenever I stop to take a break, I can look back and behind me will be a trail of stories that I've dropped along the way. Stories that may be bad, but will keep me company because they are mine and always will be.